Okay, and we are live right now. So can anybody in the chat indicate if you can hear me clearly? Is anybody in the chat? Are there actually any viewers? That's the question.
I think it's
I think we just went live.
Yes, audio is good. Audio is good, loud and clear. Great,
Yeah.
great. So let's start, as I always do. Hey, what's up, everybody? Slifa is here. Thanks again for watching and welcome to my new subscribers. If you're new to my channel, I'm trying to bring you cryptocurrency news in the entertainment kind of way. So it's easy for you to digest. So today, I'm live and I have an episode for you guys, which is called Bitcoin Thought Leaders Together here with Tai Zen and his partner, aka the Honorable, Legendary, and Leon can do it better than me, leonfu.com of cryptocurrency market. So these guys have like one of the oldest cryptocurrency investment channels, and they have just recently last week been mentioned in the Huffington Post as the 13th most influential YouTubers in the cryptocurrency space. Welcome, Tai and Leon.
Hi, hi, Levi. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you guys. So it took a while because we tried to set up this live broadcast already for 3 weeks, I guess, at Tai. Yeah. So
yeah, thanks for having us on your channel, man. We were stuck with that Hurricane Harvey and then Hurricane Irma, and we're in the middle of going from one city to another, and then we missed a few appointments there with you, but sorry about that.
No
now that the
worries.
hurricanes are over, no more excuses.
Exactly. So let's get down to it. So can you tell us a little bit, Tai, what your career background is before cryptocurrency and how you got into cryptocurrency? Do a little bit of a short introduction, and the same for you as well, Leon.
I before I got into cryptocurrencies, I worked like almost 2 jobs every day of my life. You know, most of my life, I always had like almost 2 jobs at a time. So, but right immediately before I retired from Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies, I was coaching traders in the stocks, options, forex, and futures market before I got into it. You know, and I was also doing some other stuff on the side too. And I was trading my personal portfolio. I found out about cryptocurrencies when I was working in late 2012. I worked at an energy brokerage firm in the city of Dallas, which is located in the state of Texas in America. And they were mining Bitcoins there. And they were setting up some pretty big Bitcoin mining equipment. And I learned about it. And I thought that they were being scammed by Satoshi Nakamoto and Bitcoins and stuff. So I got their white paper to send it to leonfu.com, who was working as a software engineer at Dell Computers at that time. And he confirmed to me that it was not a scam. And not only that, but he told me I should buy some and invest into it. And he went out and got some Bitcoins and helped me get my first Bitcoins, you know. So that's how I got into it, you know. So I'll turn it over to Leon and explain to you how he got into it.
Yeah, so you know, I get a call from my friend Tai. Like we had known each other for quite some number of years by this time. I think it was late 2012 or early 2013, and he had told me, say, hey, his boss is doing something with this thing called Bitcoins, and could you take a look at this white paper, because I don't really understand it, you know, because it's a bit technical, right? And I don't know if that was the first time I heard about it, because I remember hearing about it in passing on like Max Kaiser's show, maybe several months before that, but not really paying attention. But, you know, Tai had told me, say, hey, here's the white paper, go read about it. And I did that. And it took me about maybe 30 minutes, an hour to read it, right? It's only about 7 pages or so. And I immediately realized that this is a holy cow, this is going to be a revolution. This is going to change the world. So I got to go buy some. And like Tai, I was also worried about getting scammed, right? But I wasn't worried about whether Bitcoin was a scam. I was worried about the person who I bought it from was going to scam me. So I did worry about that. It was going to be like I was going to get scammed, but not because Bitcoin is going to be a scam, because I understood the computer science behind it. But I wasn't going to go mine it, right? I didn't know anything about setting up GPUs and doing mining rigs while Ty's boss was trying to mine it. So, 3 days later, it was about 3 days or so, I finally figured out how to buy it. And it was with Charlie Shrem and his company called BitInstant. And I thought he was going to scam me. I was really afraid he was going to scam me. So because what I had to do was go to CVS and then MoneyGram cash to him, and then hope that he would send me Bitcoins. And sure enough, he did. He did send me Bitcoins, and that's how I got a few Bitcoins. I think I got something like 4 or 5 Bitcoins at the time. They were around $40, and it was a couple $100 or so, but I ended up paying like $45 because it was over $5 in fees to get 200, to get 40, when Bitcoin was $40, to get a few $100s in Bitcoin. And this is the time when, I try to explain to Tai that, hey, this is how you're going to go get Bitcoins. And remember, this was before Coinbase. There's no way to link. I said, hey, you got to go get cash and run to the bank and then run to like a pharmacy and find a MoneyGram. And he was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to go buy Bitcoins that way. But, I bought quite a bunch of my Bitcoins. That's how I got started. And later on, when Coinbase came along, then I think that's when I helped Tai get his first Bitcoins. But that was another, 5 or 6 months later after that. So that's how we got started.
Yeah, Leon, I think he tripled his money already. And by that time, I was like, man, I got to get into this, man. And then so, I just strong-armed leonfu.com into getting me my first Bitcoins for me, And, so I'll thank him publicly here again, that he helped me get my first Bitcoin.
I think you were still worried about being scammed because at Coinbase, he wanted me to go get, even when Coinbase was around, he wanted me go buy them for him using my account. He didn't want to send his own money to Coinbase yet. He made me go say, hey, all right, buy me 5 Bitcoins. I'll give you the money, but I want you to go get them, right? So, back then he was 6 months later after I, doubled or tripled my money. He's still worried about getting scammed, right? So
yeah. Well, that's what friends are for. That's what friends are for.
That's right.
One of the things we always talk about, in our series, Life-Changing Finances series, on our channel is that, make sure you surround yourself with eagles and not a bunch of turkeys. Guys, people that can help you make more money.
Indeed. So, but that's a good bridge about your YouTube channel, Tai. Can you tell us more about cryptocurrency markets? What the channel is about, why you guys started it?
So we started the channel because of a few reasons. The first reason was because, Leon had, spent 6 months trying to explain to me how Bitcoin works and what it was, and, how the blockchain works and how Satoshi eliminated the double spend and the proof of work. And so he spent months trying to help me understand this new concept of the blockchain and Bitcoins. And I had to turn around and explain to friends and family. Keep in mind that I come from a trading background, where I was already trading at that time with other traders, and I was trying to explain to my trading buddies what it was, and they were just lost and confused. So I said, well, you know what? I'm not going to go through what Leon went through to teach me how to understand what Bitcoins and blockchains and cryptocurrencies were. I'm just going to start making some videos based on what he shared with me, and based on what I learned from Andreas Antonopoulos and from James D'Angelo. Because James D'Angelo and Andreas Antonopoulos were the only 2 guys that were teaching Bitcoins publicly back then. So you can tell how long someone's been in cryptocurrencies, because if you ask him who James D'Angelo is, they know who he is, then they've been in it for a while. But if they don't know who he is, then they probably haven't been in it long enough, And so we started making videos about it just to help our friends and family and stuff. And we actually started the channel out. It was called prisonerfreedom.com because we felt Bitcoin was the first revolutionary technology that was going to help free people from the 9-to-5 jobs. It's going to help free up the people that don't have banking services in third world countries and stuff like that. So we thought it was very revolutionary, and we just wanted to talk about it and evangelize, people and educate people about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. And later on, we realized that people were there more for the investing purposes. So we went through a internal rebranding, and we turned it into cryptocurrencymarket.com. I mean, cryptocurrency.market instead, because it was more in alignment with what we were talking about, and was more in alignment with what our subscribers and our viewers came to our channel for, because they wanted to learn how to make life-changing money and life-changing profits from cryptocurrency investing. So, and then that got started.
Okay, good, because now it also evolved a little bit in deep diving into let's say the technologies that are around, or the projects that are around, because I remember getting into your channel by doing some due diligence and investigations on Waves and on Factum. So what is the idea behind that? Is it also, yeah, of course, because you guys are invested in it, but what is the objective to do deep dives there? And what is the deviation between the two of you? So what is your views on a new technology, and what is Leon's views on let's say new projects and technologies?
Okay, so our channel is made up of primarily two people. Myself, well, it's actually made up of primarily three people. You just don't see the third person until very recently. But I'm focused more on the technical analysis side, and that's what I'm good at, is on the technical analysis side. And when we say technical analysis, there's a lot of people online that talk about technical analysis, Levi, but they actually don't put money on it. We have a bunch of those, and you always want to be careful about the people who do technical analysis, but they don't put no money on it, on what they're analyzing. You know what I'm saying? So
exactly.
Because hey, you're doing technical analysis and you're saying it's time to buy, but how much of your money are you putting on there? So whenever we say that buy something, usually we put multiple six figures from our team on that when we say it's time to buy. So I handle the technical analysis side, and then Leon handles the fundamental analysis side. I'll let him speak about that in a minute. But we also have a third team member named David Fong, who we recently introduced him to the audience. Last week. And we finally, strong-armed him and convinced him to finally come public. He's the one that actually builds all our trading and software tools. He's like, how like in James Bond they have Q, and he built all the fancy.
Yeah.
Well, on our team, David is the one, we call him F, and F is the one that builds all the tools to help us manage our portfolio and look at, and we'll talk about more about it when we get to it, but he's the one that, primarily built our indexes and everything. So you want to talk about how you do the fundamental analysis, and so the fundamental determines what crypto we get into, and then we look at the technical analysis of what's a good price point to buy it. So just because you find a good crypto doesn't mean that that's a good time to buy it. It may be good, but the price is not at the right time. So you want to talk about your fundamental analysis and your software engineering?
Yeah. So by trade, I'm an engineer. I've been in computers and so that's my background. My real job before I got into crypto was I was basically a coder, a software engineer. I started in college, and before college, I was doing databases. I did a lot of client-server database app with VB or Microsoft Access on the front end and SQL on the back end, and I did that for pretty much over a decade. And then before that, I was a mobile dev. From there, I went into mobile dev, iOS, because I saw how revolutionary the iPhone and the iPad, or mobile devices in general, were going to be, and how this whole app transition that we've had over the last decade, I saw that coming in 2010. And then so I jumped from databases to mobile apps, specifically for the iPhone and iPad. And then from there, when Tai introduced me to Bitcoin, when he told me, when he asked me to say, hey, could you read the white paper? I realized that, this was going to be even a bigger revolution than mobile apps, which is what I had been doing for the last, for about 6 years, right? 3-4 years at that point. So I've always had a sense of when I see something that it's going to be big. That started with databases to mobile app development to cryptocurrencies. In my career, I've basically made three very large jumps. Switching fields, all within technology, but in different fields. So my role in the channel is basically to evaluate whether or not something is a technology or a project has the potential to become big. One of our biggest winners that we got into, I would say, was Ethereum. That was something that, I immediately recognized that when Vitalik presented it, that, hey, this was, the whole idea of smart contracts, this was going to be the evolution in Bitcoin in this direction. Now, I don't know whether or not Ethereum itself was going to be as big as it's become, but it was like something like, hey, you know what, this really has a lot of potential. And so I evaluate things from a technology standpoint about what the potential is and whether or not it's worth for us to try to invest it. And Tai, he focuses more on what price to get in, or when we should maybe take some profits and get out. So that's really our two roles. Is I kind of lead more of like what direction we should go strategically. Whether it's we've mentioned this before on our channel, like smart contracts or privacy or the specific areas. And Tai focuses on more like what seems to be a good price to buy and sell these cryptos. Yeah.
Yeah, good. So
and then just as a quick recap too, and then David Fong F, our third team member, he's the one that, like I said, builds the tools that helps us to be able to do all those things that we just described faster and easier and more accurately.
Okay, good. So I have a technical question and a more, let's say, technical analysis question. Let's say a technology question for Leon. So you were mentioning you guys got in early with Ethereum. So if we look at it, if we are moving, let's say, to an IoT world, right, where Gartner has forecasted that per 2020, 30 billion devices will be connected to the Internet of Things. By 2025, 75 billion, and by 2030, around 1 trillion. Do you think that Ethereum at its current state, with the transactions per second, like averagely 15, right, is enough to, let's say, fulfill this IoT world? And do you think there will be a solution for this via Ethereum, for instance?
So Ethereum, you have to remember now, Ethereum, when it first got started back in, when Vitalik was going around, promoting the project, this was back in 2014. In 2014, many people didn't even believe the whole idea of smart contracts was even possible. Like circa 2014, we were, there's this 20-year-old kid saying how we could have this kind of world computer that runs, no one really controls it, and it just like runs and executes these, what we call smart contracts or little programming languages, and there's no server. That idea in 2014, we weren't even sure that they could pull it off at that point. We weren't even thinking about like how many transactions per second, or could it scale to millions of Internet of Things? That wasn't even the goal. Like in 2014, we were wondering, like, what, if he can just make this happen, if he can just get this to work the way he described it, throughout 2014, we're going to make a ton of money. That's all you have to do. At a $18 million valuation, if you're only paying $18 million and somebody is about to say that, hey, you know what, I'm going to do this. And, if you go back to the skeptics or the people who, and I shouldn't call them skeptics, because I wasn't even sure if he could do it. You know what I mean? Like that's why I didn't invest more, right? If I was absolutely certain that this 28-year-old kid could pull this off, I would have dumped like 20 or 30% of my Bitcoins in there. But I wasn't sure, right? And none of us were really sure that this kid could deliver on something that seemed really ambitious at that time, right? Because Bitcoin couldn't do this, right? Bitcoin didn't have a way to run what at the time was called Turing complete. So now, fast forward 3 years later, Ethereum did work. It does deliver, and now we're looking at does it scale, right? Does it not only we know smart contracts works. We know that yes, it's possible to run a scripting language in a blockchain that can execute code in a censorship-resistant way. Okay, we take that for granted today, but in 2014, it wasn't clear that we could actually do this, right? Now the question is, okay, we can do this. Will it scale? Well, no one really knows, right? I mean, that's not an easy problem. And for Ethereum to grow beyond where it is today to something in the future, it's going to have to figure that out. Now, does Ethereum do that, or does something like EOS, I think, is working on a similar competing project that wants to do smart contracts but wants to be able to write. I did watch Dan Larimer's presentation, and he said that he wanted to basically EOS wanted to be a platform where anybody could write an application such as Steemit on that blockchain, right? Where it could do millions of transactions per second and it could scale, right? But right now, EOS is just vaporware at the moment. It doesn't actually have any software, so it's trading on the fact that Dan Larimer had 2 successful projects beforehand, right? BitShares, Steemit. That's why it's trading at the valuation it is. But as investors, we're investors. Our primary focus is not to predict whether or not, say, Ethereum can scale to handle millions of IoT devices. No one can make that prediction. No one knows. But as an investor, you don't need to know, right? Investing is not about predicting the future. Investing is about probabilities. Investing is about, if you invest in a risky project such as Ethereum in 2014, you can lose 100% of your money, okay? But you can't lose more than you put in, right? If you only put in $100, you can't lose. You can lose all of your money, but you can't lose more than you put in, right? But on the upside, if it does succeed, we know, such as Ethereum, it's up over 1,000 times, not 1,000%, 1,000 times its ICO price, right? The ICO price is was 30 cents, and now it's at $200-300, right? That's many multiples. So you don't have to always be right as an investor. What we evaluate is potential. We evaluate this is a risky project. All of these crypto projects are risky projects, but your downside is always cut off at no more than the amount of money you put in. So it is about managing the risk of these risky investments. That's what this is about. And then evaluating, if this project does succeed, if these people are able to do what they say they want to do, what is the potential return of that, and what do we believe is the likelihood of that happening? Now, with Ethereum, back in 2014, it wasn't like these guys were just saying we could do this. They actually had prototypes. There was already a test net that was up and running that showed that these proof of concepts that kind of showed that this was all possible, right? So it wasn't simply you were just throwing money in blind. We had a sense that there was a good chance that these guys could actually deliver on what they said they wanted to do. So yeah.
Great. Okay, and then you.
I just want to add to that on top of what Leon just said there, Levi, for your audience to know. Even if Ethereum cannot scale up, let's just say it cannot do it. We don't know. Like Leon said, nobody knows, right? But let's just say that it gets to a point where it cannot scale up to handle these thousands or millions of transactions that it needs to do for this Internet of Things world that we're going to be in, right? Somebody else will figure it out. Somebody else in crypto will figure it out. The Ethereum team is not the only smart team out there. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah, so true.
Everybody knows what, blockchain technology is. And there's, lots of smart engineers around the world, software engineers that are jumping on this, because it's a very lucrative industry. It's a fast growing, it's new. So everybody wants a piece of the pie, and it's a big piece of pie. So somebody will figure it out. If Ethereum, if Vitalik and his team does not figure it out, somebody else will. So we don't even worry about it.
Yeah, and our job is to find the team. Let's say that's our investment thesis. Let's say hey, we want to be on the blockchain that scales to millions of transactions per second, right? Well, there's several projects right now that are doing that. And we might bet if that's our investment thesis, we would put an investment in every single credible project that's working on that, right?
Yeah.
One of the themes that we have is we believe the privacy coins will become very important, especially as the governments around the world start cracking down. Now, we don't know if it's going to be Monero or Navcoin or Pivx or Zcash or, there's a dozen of these, right? No one knows which one is going to be the winner, but at the same time, we don't need to know, right? We invest in things that we have an investment thesis that this is going to be an important area. And we're going to bet on all of the projects we think are credible because we believe that one of them will be the big one, right? Just like I use the example of Google, right? Google was the 21st search engine, right? That came out. Yeah. How would you know that it was, as an investor, if you had the sense that finding things in the internet is going to be extremely lucrative, right? That might have been your investment theme in the mid-90s because in the mid-90s, no one could find anything on the internet, right? It was this vast sea of information. I don't think people remember how the internet was before Google, right? You couldn't find anything, right? Yeah, but there were 20 different search engines all working on the same problem. Just like today, there's at least I know half a dozen smart contracts platform that are trying to scale, including Ethereum, right? Who's going to solve that problem? Who's going to solve that problem in a way that gains traction? I don't think, no one knows, but as an investor, you don't really need to know. What's important for you is to come up with a thesis of, okay, you believe that's going to be important. What are the teams that are working on it? And what are the projects that are making a credible effort that it's worth it for you as an investor to place a bet on them, because you don't know, right? No one knows. Exactly. But that's,
I also want to add this for your audience to know also, Levi, that Leon and I, when I say we, everyone on our team believe that it's extremely dangerous, especially if you're in crypto to make money. Like, we're in crypto to make money, and we make it very clear, right? It's very dangerous from a money-making perspective to be biased towards one project over another. Like, we have, recently I was at the blockchain oil and gas conference. Our team went down there in Houston to research what the blockchains were doing, being used in the oil and gas industry. Because for your audience that's not from the United States of America, the state that we live in is called Texas, and it's a heavily energy dependent state. We live in one of the biggest, near one of the biggest oil refineries in America. So because of that, we're always conscientious about what, the oil and gas industry is doing, because our economy in our state. So we went down there to Houston, which is one of the biggest oil and gas cities in America, right? And to just listen to how they're using the blockchain in the oil and gas industry. And we ran into, one of the guys from Consensus, one of the guys that work for Consensus. He's not like a major player or anything. He's just one of the guys that works at the desk. And, when we talked to him, he was like dead set that Ethereum is the only blockchain that, why would you even consider any other blockchain? And from an investing and a money-making perspective, that's extremely unwise, biased mindset to have, because no one knows. No one knows. Like, and whenever somebody tells me that, oh, this stock or this commodity or this currency pair or this crypto pair is going to the moon, and I'm like, well, I mean, did you mortgage, get a loan out on your house? Did you take equity out? Did you go sell your car to put all your money into it?
Yeah, that's reckless.
Then you're not putting your money where your mouth is. Like when I first did Bitcoin and I believed in it, I took out all my life savings and I put it into because I believed in it that much that the clearing and settlement technology is going to be revolutionary in the financial world. I didn't invest in my life savings into it because it's going to replace the US dollar or the euro or anything like that. Yeah. But we see a lot of people right now are going to be seriously hurt financially because they believe that this is the one crypto that's going to be the next Google or Facebook, and nobody knows that. Just realize that that's not true. That's not possible for someone to know that until it happens. So. Okay,
good. So Tai, can you tell me from let's say a technical analysis perspective, or let's say from a risk management perspective, what are the moments that you guys decide to step out, or to look in some profits? Because a lot of people here in the cryptocurrency world are always euphoric. They think it's gonna rise and rise and rise without any corrections or whatever. Can you share a little bit of some basics, or at least high level, the way you guys apply it?
Okay, so first of all, there's thousands of technical analysis tools out there. And your audience needs to realize that trading and investing has been around for thousands of years. It's not new. Like, if you're new to trading, it doesn't mean trading is new. It's just like someone that comes in and learns how to speak English today. You might be new to learning how to speak English, but that doesn't mean that English is new. It's been around for, hundreds of years. And people that have come before us that know how to speak English correctly, know how to pronounce it correctly, know how to write it correctly, know how to use correct grammar. So there's no need to reinvent the wheel. One of the things that we do in our team is that we try to avoid anything that is new in cryptocurrency tools, like trading tools. We try to avoid any new trading tools because that's not new. Trading is not a new skill or a new endeavor. It may be new to you, but it's not new to the world of trading. Trading's been around for thousands of years. Candlestick charts and candlestick patterns have been around since the Japanese, were the first ones to invent it. The Japanese rice traders used candlesticks in the 1500s. We don't need to reinvent that.
I thought that the Dutch invented trading.
Huh? Yeah, the concept of trading. Yeah. So what we do is we tend to stick to the traditional tools. We use candlestick charts. We don't use all these new, Renki charts and all these new, I'm not saying it doesn't work, but we're going to use something that for hundreds of years, other traders have already proven that it's worked. And then typically, there's three types of tools in trading that people need to be aware of, right? One type is the price action, okay? The price of the cryptocurrency, or the price of the stock, or the price of the commodity. That's the most important one. That's out of all the data that you can look at for a cryptocurrency, the price is the most important one, and that's what we trade off of. We trade off of price action. We trade off what the price is telling us, right? And then the second type of tools that's out there are tools that take an average of the price. So you got price, and then you got tools that take the average of the price, right? So we typically try to avoid these. Once in a while we'll use it, but we try to avoid it because that's like, we like to go to the source of the information, which is the actual price that it's trading at. We don't like a analysis of that data. We just look at the data ourselves. And then the third group of tools that's very, very lagging, in our opinion, are the analysis tools that take an average of an average. All right, so for example, like the MACD, the stochastics, anything like that, they're just taking an average. So we try to avoid the average tools, such as like, moving averages and stuff like that. Once in a while, we use it to see what the rest of the amateurs are looking at. But the professionals, they tend to look at the price action itself. So we use this sparingly, like moving averages, which is a derivative of the price, and then we avoid using anything that's an average of the average. So that's like, you ever go tell somebody how you did something, you kissed a girl for the first time, and then they go tell another friend, and then their friend tells another friend, and by the fourth person, it's like, you know, the
sex.
the girl that you kiss now becomes the girl that you sleep with, you know. So we don't want that inaccurate information. We want it straight from the source. Okay, so that's, you know, hopefully that helps. You know, and there are people that swear up and down by, you know, the average of an average of an average and things like that. But we just think the price that it's being traded, and then we use trend lines and we use support and resistance lines. Those are like our bread and butter tools. Like that's potatoes, that's our beans and rice. I'm trying to use all the comparisons that I can for all your audience, depending on what country they're in, you know. So, I don't know some of the primary foods in Africa, so I can't use that because, you know, we don't have too much African food in Dallas. You know, I like to try new food.
Good metaphors. So, hey, Leon. So, if you look at things from, let's say, a fundamental technology perspective, what, in your opinion, is the new kid on the block, which you see, Leon?
The new kid on the block. What specifically do you mean by new kid? Like a new project?
I mean, you know, a project of which you think like, wow, this one really has potential for the future.
Is your video on?
Yeah, it's out.
Oh, yeah. Let me turn my video on here. Yeah. So right now, to be honest with you, I still think, you know. I guess what you mean by that is there's something that's going to overtake Bitcoin or Ethereum. I think, is that what you mean by?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. It can also be, you know, something completely, you know, new out of the box. You know, totally new, of which there is not a lot of hype on, something like that.
Well, personally, I think, you know, we've talked. Tai and I have talked about this many before. I think what's going to limit cryptocurrencies from scaling is governance. You know, we've spoken many times about governance, and we don't mean governance by and scaling. People might think of that as we're talking about segregated witness versus big blocks, right? That's not what we're talking about, right? That's just a
Hey, just real quick too, Leon, I just want to jump in because every time, you know, we always talk about scaling Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency and governance, there's always this confusion. I just want to clarify for Levi's audience real quick. When we talk about scaling Bitcoin, there's two types of scaling. One type of scaling is to increase the transaction speed, right? So that's a throughput scaling. So that's just the increasing the speed of the Bitcoin transactions or a crypto transaction speed. That's one type of scaling in cryptocurrency. The other type of scaling that Leon and I always talk about, we rarely talk about scaling the transaction speed because somebody's going to figure that out. That's not going to be a problem. Somebody will figure that out. The other one that we talk about is scaling to gain mainstream adoption. Okay, so one type of scaling is transaction speed. The other type of scaling is how do we get the mainstream to adopt cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin or whatever the dominant or the one that works for the right?
Yeah.
And so that's
scaling.
Talking about scaling as mainstream adoption.
So scaling has to do with governance, right? It's about governing a community, right? That's really what scaling is about. It's about like how do you bring more people into your community? In this case, the community, let's say it's Bitcoin, or and once they're in, how does that community make decisions together to move forward, right? Such as if they're faced with a decision with increasing block size, any type of decision that they need to make as a community. What is the process that community has in order to make a decision about something, right? And the answer for Bitcoin and most, Bitcoin doesn't have that, right? Bitcoin had Satoshi Nakamoto, and he kind of just made decisions unilaterally until he disappeared, right? And then it became a lot of the decision making was done by what the group known as Bitcoin Core today. So, but there was no real structure as to how the Bitcoin community is governed. Most of the other projects are, I would say their governance model is more like a benevolent dictator model, right? Such as, you know, it was Satoshi Nakamoto for Bitcoin until he disappeared, and I would argue it's Vitalik Buterin for Ethereum, and that works to a point.
You know, Charlie Lee. You know, don't forget Charlie Lee for Litecoin, Fluffy Pony for Monero.
For Litecoin, it's Fluffy Pony for Monero.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean that they have like absolute dictatorship control, like just whatever they say, that's what they do. That's not what even a dictator doesn't have that, right? Because he basically has to get his followers to agree to go in a particular direction. But there's some person or some figurehead that has enough influence where when they make a decision, if let's say the community is split between do I do A or B, that they have enough influence to pull their community one way or another. Like they will rally behind their leader if you know, if there needs to be a decision to be made. Now, and like I said, that works, but it doesn't scale, right? Because eventually the community gets too big. There's too many factions within that community. There's too many opinions where one person can't make all the decisions. One person doesn't have enough, I will call it political capital, for lack of a better word, to push to make every decision that needs to be made. And there's no crypto project that has a solution to this right now. Mainly, most of the crypto projects, they either don't have, they're just like this mob of people who there's no real structured way to make decisions. I would say Bitcoin is like that right now. Or there's but they have this benevolent dictatorship model where there's a figurehead at the top that kind of has the majority of the influence that can push a project forward. But what we will see is like scales to say, you know, that becomes like the dominant crypto, like a Facebook or Google for search engines and social media. They will figure that out. I don't know what the solution is. There's projects such as Decred, there's projects such as Tezos that are trying to work on these models, right? These governance models. That's something that I think is necessary. Somebody will need to figure this out for crypto to go mainstream. And before that's figured out, what we'll see is lots of different altcoins with their own communities, right? Because no one has a governance model to scale. It's very similar to countries, right? Like, why is it such as a country like China or the United States or Russia can scale to the size that they are, and why can't they scale any further, right? Why they're just one country that rules the whole world, right? Because there's limits to each governance model. Right? There's before you had a monarchy or you have democracy or you have different types of governance models. Each one of those models has a limit to how big they can get before they hit a wall. Right? Either they're confronted with a rival or they just can't scale beyond that certain point because of the way they're structured. So we're going to see that in crypto, where I believe that the biggest crypto will be the ones that figure out how to get their governance models to scale. That's the real limit. It's not the limit as to how big a crypto can get isn't the technology. It's the community and it's the government.
True. Amen to that. Enjoy, Tai.
My wife got some. We're eating some grapes, and my wife got some big, fat, juicy grapes for me.
Nice.
You know, she likes grapes while I'm trading.
Healthy.
I got a big old jackfruit in there, about this big, in the refrigerator. But not fun eating a jackfruit by yourself, you know. So I'm waiting for when I get home before I eat it, you know. But so I want to add something to what Leon just said, right? He talked a lot about the governance process, and a lot of people that don't understand the importance of governance, what it is, and how important it is to scaling to a large number of users, right? They always think that when we talk about governance, they think that we're talking about a government. And it's untrue, you know. Yeah. Governance can involve a government body or you know, a government, but it does not have to. Governance process means it's just a decision-making process of how does the community come to a final decision on it, and then everybody moves along with it, right? And right now, Bitcoin and it does not have a governance process, so that whenever they have a dispute or they need to figure out how to update the software, there's no way. Like segregated witness took like, I don't know, 3-4 years for them to. Crazy. And it's not, and now it's split into two different Bitcoins, a Bitcoin Cash and a Bitcoin Core, and then now there's going to be other ones that split up among that. You know what I'm saying? And it's because of the lack of a governance.
More dividend, for us.
Yeah, yeah, and to me, that's the more baby Bitcoins are born from this, the more that it's going to confuse the public, and that does not gain mainstream adoption. Nothing kills adoption faster than confusion. A confused mind cannot make a decision, and the easiest decision to make is to do nothing. So whenever people come into the world of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and they hear about Bitcoin Core, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Gold, and all this other stuff, right? All that does is create confusion, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So like Leon said, the cryptocurrency that has that can come up with a working governance process so that the community can make a decision on how to grow the technology so that more users can use it, that's the one that's going to win out.
Yeah.
Right? The first one, I mean, you know, Leon can give you more examples of this because he's been in technology most of his life, right? Just because you're the first market does not mean that you're the best.
True.
You might be the best now. I remember when I first used MySpace, and I thought that was like the best social media. And now I don't even know what, I can't even remember.
What is it? What is it?
Yeah, like what is it? You know, there's people nowadays, you know, hey, you want to give other examples of the people that, other companies that were first to market, you know, like Kodak and all the other ones?
I mean, Leon? The list is endless. I mean,
exactly.
Recently, like I said previously, that I was involved in I was a developer in the mobile app boom, in the smartphone boom that started when the iPhone came out. And people don't remember, people may or may not remember that Nokia was by far the leader before the iPhone came out. Within 5 years, they were wiped out by Apple.
Yeah.
And they don't even make smartphones anymore. Now it's been sold and resold. So tech has shown that, you know, over and over again, the companies that, you know, that are leading, say, 10, 15, 20 years from now, will not be the companies that are here today.
Exactly.
And, you know, I have my doubts whether or not Bitcoin will remain the dominant cryptocurrency 5, 10, 15 years from now. It may be Bitcoin, but it also might be something else that may not even exist today, right? Like,
hey, be careful what you say. Be careful what you say about Bitcoin, man, because at the next conference we go to, you might get lynched by the Bitcoin Maximum.
Yeah, so. Yeah, but you know, remember, it was you know, was it even possible to know Google was going to be the dominant search engine before Google even existed?
No, right? It was Alta Vista back in the day.
It was Yahoo. It was Lycos. It was you know, there's a bunch of them that I don't remember. But you know, we have to keep an open mind that it may or may not be Bitcoin as an investor. That something else. It might be something that already exists today. It might be something that doesn't even exist today yet. It might be something that comes out in the future.
Yeah.
So just because there's people coming in.
Here's an answer that I will give you and your audience here, Levi. Yeah. You asked what's the big dog or what's the up and coming new hot
new kid on the block?
Yeah, the new kid on the block. Okay, so, okay, real quick disclaimer to your audience, okay? Anything that we talk about, just assume that we invested into it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You know, people don't think that we're trying to pump and dump anything like on our channel.
Bumpers.
People all the time, right? Just assume that we invest into it and assume that they sponsor our channel and everything, okay? So that way, full disclosure so that people don't accuse us of pumping a coin or anything, okay? We don't have like a top dog or the new kid on the block that we focus on, but there are two. So Leon and I, when I started asking Leon, because he's the tech guy, right? I always ask him whenever he tells me about a new crypto or I hear about a new crypto, I'm always asking Leon, hey, what bucket does this fall in?
Yeah.
Right? Does this fall in the social media bucket, or does this fall into the distributed computing bucket? Does this fall into the privacy coin bucket? So in the world of stocks, they would call that the sectors or the industries.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? So, you know, like Exxon would be in the energy sector, you know, Apple would be in the technology sector. So there are two sectors, or there's two buckets that we think are going to be huge moving forward. Huge. There's not a specific cryptocurrency inside that bucket that we can say is going to be the top dog, right? But these two buckets we feel are very, very serious because it's a serious problem now that needs to be solved. So for example, right, like EOS and I'll give you an example of buckets that's not real problems in the real world, okay? For example, like EOS, Ethereum, Neo, all these, they may be high value cryptocurrencies and stuff like that, but in the real world today, that's not a serious problem. Like nobody runs around going, hey man, I need a smart contract. I need a smart contract. Nobody does that, right? Yeah. There are a few sectors that people are running around desperately seeking a solution to. One is the privacy coin bucket. So that's the one that we did the most comprehensive research on. And here's the reason why privacy is so important, all right? Because out of all the human rights that we have, Levi, the right to privacy is the only one that gets violated on a constant basis we don't know about. So we got the CIA, which is the Central Intelligence Agency in America, and we got the Secret Service, we got the FBI, we got all these different government, law enforcement, and spy agencies that spy on us and violate our human rights, our right to privacy. So like pretty much every country, you know, every developed country has, you know, human rights that we have that are guaranteed to us. Right? So we have the right to, you know, not be detained, you know, for nothing. So if a police officer comes and detains me, you can see that. Like you can see that being detained for nothing, or I can see that. I can see the police officer or the government official detaining you, right? If you are being censored and you're not allowed to broadcast something on YouTube or something, you can see that. You log into your account and you're being notified that you can't broadcast live or for whatever reason, right? So in all the human rights that we have, when our human rights are violated, we can see it. The only human right that we cannot see be violated when it happens is our right to privacy. So because of that, we have an investment thesis or an investment case that we make on our channel and our team that privacy is going to be a huge sector. It's going to be a huge bucket worth investing into. And we don't know which one. We don't know if it's going to be Monero. We don't know if it's going to be Pivx. We don't know if it's going to be Dash. Dash used to be a privacy coin, but they're marketing themselves away from that.
Yeah. Dark.
And then you have, you know, the rebranded ones such as like Particle, and then you have like Zcash. Yeah, you have a bunch of them, and then there's new one that I recently discovered called. Yeah, that was brought to my attention from when I. The creator of the mobile app wallet called CoinPouch, and then today I saw on my Twitter account a feed where John McAfee that does the McAfee virus scanner software, he said that Verge has huge potential, and I don't know anything about Verge. I just got into it because the guy that said that you know that's what they're putting in there, and so I'm thinking, well, it must be good. They already did their due diligence on it, so. I got into it because of that, you know.
Always do your own due diligence, Tai.
Yeah, but when somebody is more technical than you have already done the due diligence, you know, Always leverage other people who've already made the mistakes and already did the work, okay? Investing is not about working harder. Investing is about getting somebody else qualified to do the work and then you profit from it, okay? So like most of the time, I don't even research, and I do the technical analysis, but like when it comes to researching the coin, I just take it and I send it over to Leon, let him read it. Why should I read it when I got someone more technical than me, right? Nobody ever paid me a six-figure salary, you know, software engineering. Anyone pay you to do that?
No.
Yeah, so who's more qualified? Who's more qualified? Someone that gets paid a couple $100,000 a year to do software engineering, or someone like me who can't even type in 2 + 2 correctly into the calculator. Right. So because of that, and that's why we have a team of different specialists that do the tasks that the other ones are not good at. So when it comes to technical analysis, like Leon doesn't look at that. He just tells me, hey man, go analyze this for me, so to see if it's time to get in or out. Right? Then I do that because I can do that, much more efficiently than he can. So that's, you got to work as a team, man. Money, they always talk about the self-made millionaire, which is a bunch of bullshit because no one ever becomes a millionaire by themselves. The reason why we all became millionaires is because we work together as a team. We collaborate with each other. We even run, cryptocurrency investing boot camps, and inside those boot camps, we meet other people, investors and traders who are really good that we have in our coaching group, and we discuss, strategies with them, different cryptos with them. So we work as a team. No one becomes wealthy alone, man. That's just a bullshit myth that I wish that was never in my head when I was growing up trying to make money.
Agree. To get it to the top. As my man Napoleon Hill always say, you can succeed best and quickest by helping others to succeed. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. And one is to be around other people that are successful and to help other successful.
Yeah.
So
good. Already over an hour, I guess, right now. So one of the things I wanted to discuss with you guys is the Tai Fu 30 index and the Tai Fu indexes that you have created. So it's also something that I always refer to daily in my show. So I always take a look at the top 10 and then always take a look at the Tai Fu 30 index. So can you elaborate on that a little bit, Tai and Leon? I'm going to share my screen to also make it a little bit more tangible for my audience. Let me know if you can see my screen correctly. Is it visible like this?
I do see it, yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. So I don't know if one of you want to break it down.
So what we'll do is this. We'll do it in 2 parts. We'll have Leon explain what the Tai Fu 30 cryptocurrency market index is, and then I'll come in and explain how to use it in your trading and investing.
Yeah. Okay, so the Tai Fu 30 is a measure. It has 30 cryptos. It is a sum of the.
Make sure you turn your video back on.
Yeah, it's the sum of the 30 most valuable cryptocurrencies, and the reason we pick 30 is because that's enough to cover the majority of the market. So it's supposed to be a gauge that we reference as to how big is the overall crypto market. It's we would use this similar to like the S&P 500, but this actually is a gauge as to how large are the most important cryptos on a day-to-day basis. And you can see the index started around 100. It's now at 115. I think it had fell to as low as 70 or 80 a couple of months back, but then we came back. So yeah, that's what the type.
Hey, Levi, just real quick, Levi, could you click on the index picture? It has the index on the screen for the viewers and not me or Leon. If you just go to the bottom right, yeah. If you just click on that, yeah, it'll stay on there.
Okay. Is it on it now? Or
yeah, it's on there now.
Yeah, or should I look at here, like this?
No. If you just click on like there's 3 of us on the Google Hangout at the bottom.
Yeah. I clicked on myself.
Yeah.
Sorry for the technical difficulty, guys. This is the first time I'm doing a live stream, man. So bear with me. Next time it's gonna be better. Okay, good.
Okay, did you finish explaining what it is, Leon?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
So okay. Sorry, one question. So you guys do not expect it to go down below 100 billion anymore? If I look at this,
It's certainly right. It
Yeah.
certainly could go below 100 billion or 100 on our index. But you know, long term, we believe this is our long term thesis that
Yeah.
cryptocurrencies become a major asset class.
Mm-hmm.
And an asset class are things that are a whole group of assets, such as stocks, bonds, precious metals, real estate.
Yeah.
You know, we believe cryptocurrencies, or I don't even like the term cryptocurrencies because not everything is a currency.
Mm-hmm.
We prefer blockchain assets over cryptocurrencies because currency implies they're all most of the things in the top 100 are not even currencies. They're tokens used for one thing or another thing, but not necessarily a currency. You know, everyone still refers it to them, so that's why we still use that term. We believe it goes to $1 trillion, a multi-trillion-dollar asset class. And so what we hope that this index does is track the growth of the overall market. And so that's really the purpose of the Tai Fu 30.
Yeah. Good.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
okay, so the way that we use it, so that your audience knows how to use the index properly, all right? So when we say it's 115 points, right, it doesn't mean anything to anyone, okay?
Yeah.
It's just a random number. So whenever you say that you're up, you trade and you manage your portfolio and you're up 10% or you're up 20%, it really doesn't mean anything, okay? Because there's no reference point.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you measure something, we need a reference point to measure against, right? So I'll use myself as an example, right? When I first had my first heart attack back in 2007, Levi,
Yeah.
I went into the ER, and when I was in the ER, they told me that I was suffering from a massive heart attack and I needed to sign the documents so they can treat me. And I refused to sign anything because I did not believe that I had a heart attack at that time. You know, I was a personal trainer at the biggest Gold's Gym in Texas at that time. And as a personal trainer, I just refused to believe that I had a heart attack at that time. So what happened was they showed me that on the heart monitor, my heart was going from, 20 beats a minute to 200 beats a minute, and then back down to 20 beats a minute and back up to 200 beats a minute. Now, I train a lot of athletes and I'm used to training all my life in the gym. So I'm fully aware that my normal resting heart rate is around 78 beats a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when I saw it go down to 20 and go back up to 200 and then back down to 20, so I had a reference point. The reference point was that my normal heart rate's at 78. So for it to go down to 20, that's too low. And for it to go to 200, that's too high, because I know that at my maximum capacity, if I'm running as hard as I can and training as hard as I can and exercise as hard as I can, I have never been able to get my heart rate past like 180 or 185 beats per minute. So I already have a reference point in my head. So now that I see that it shows that my heart rate's at 200 beats a minute, I know that something is not right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I actually did not believe it at first. I told them that the heart monitor was broken, and they said, no, it's not the heart monitor, it's your heart. Mm-hmm. So at that point, I went ahead and signed the paperwork so they can treat me for the heart attack. So when you go into cryptocurrency trading and investing, you want to have a reference point as to your performance so that you know that your strategy is working or not working, or it needs to be improved, or just leave it alone because it's working really well, okay? So in the traditional stock market, we have what's called the S&P 500, which is the 500 most popular stocks in America, right? And then we also have the Dow Jones Industrial 30, which is the top 30 biggest stocks by market cap. And then we also have the NASDAQ 100. Those are the three most popular benchmarks or gauges to gauge the stock market performance or the pulse of the market in the traditional stock market world. But in the crypto world, there's no such tools. So we were very frustrated that we didn't have some type of index tool so that we can measure, hey, is Leon's portfolio doing better than mine? Is my portfolio doing better than our other a team member, David Fong, is better than his.
Yeah.
So we together and we brainstormed it and we created the Tai Fu 30 cryptocurrency market index so that we have a tool, a benchmark, so that we can measure our performance. So at the end of the month, at the end of the quarter, at the end of the year, if the Tai Fu 30 index has gone up, let's say 50%, and my portfolio only grew 30%, and Leon's portfolio grew 60%, right? Then we know that his strategy was working a little bit better.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So you know, and I want to give full credit to David, who we call F, right? F is the one who created those indexes right there for us to use, and he's working right now, you know, with some software agencies to produce a production grade, meaning that it'll stream in real time and it'll be able to incorporate into multiple wallets, you know, and stuff like that. Right now, we're like in alpha right now. So what you see there, it gets updated every day at UTC 0 hours, which is about 3 p.m. Central Time, and I think it's about 2 p.m. in New York time. So every day at that time, it's when this index gets updated. And so as a reference point, it started out at 100 points, because at the time that we released the index, right, the market cap was at $100 billion, somewhere around 101 billion dollars. Okay, on 17th. So we started the index at 100 points to represent the $100 billion that was in the market at that time. Okay, and so now, basically, if you invested into if you manage your portfolio, and if you look on the screen there, it shows that somewhere at the beginning of September, it went all the way up to like 165, 170, where 167 points right there. That means sometime around that point, you know, if it went from there down to where it's at today at 115, and you do the math, and let's say that 167 minus 115, whatever the math is, whatever the difference is, you know, I don't have the calculator in front of me right now, but let's just say that the market tanked 30% or 40% or whatever the number is right there. And then you look at your portfolio and you ask yourself, well, how did my portfolio do? If it tanked more than what the market tanked, then my strategy is not as good as what the market is. And at the end of the year, that's the reference point that everyone uses to gauge their performance.
Yeah.
So does that help explain how to use the market, the Tai Fu 30 cryptocurrency market index? Right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Loud and clear. So you also have two other indexes.
Yeah, so the other two indexes is really quick. It's very simple to use also. So the Tai Fu 30 altcoin market index is a tool to represent the altcoin market without Bitcoin in it and without Bitcoin Cash. Now, it only includes the altcoins only, right? And we don't consider Bitcoin Cash the same as a regular altcoin, because a regular altcoin, you actually have to put money into it to buy it. Okay, I'm getting feedback from somebody, so whoever's not talking need to mute their mic.
Let me mute myself. Hold on.
Okay. All right, so the altcoin market index does not include the market cap of Bitcoin or any baby Bitcoins that came from it. Now, some people, the Bitcoin Cash is not included, and I want to make sure your audience understands this, right? We only remove Bitcoin and the babies that come from Bitcoin. All right, we don't, for example, like Bitcoin or Bitcore and Bitcoin Gold, those are not included because those are actual altcoins. Okay, they do not share the same Genesis block as the original Bitcoin that Satoshi Nakamoto created, and you have to do something to get it. Whereas Bitcoin Cash, you didn't have to do anything, and you got it. So those are two huge distinctions, because people ask us how come we don't include those. So we just want to make sure that they understand that. So you would use the Tai Fu 30 altcoin market index the same way that you would use the Tai Fu 30 cryptocurrency market index, except it's only for altcoins. So for example, like in 2013, the majority of my portfolio was Bitcoin. And in 2014, I mean, the majority of my portfolio was Bitcoin, so I would use the Tai Fu 30 cryptocurrency market index to measure my performance. But nowadays, Bitcoin usually makes up less than 2 or 3% of my entire portfolio. So because of that, I prefer to use the Tai Fu 30 altcoin market index because it's a more accurate reflection of what my portfolio looks like. Okay. So if you don't have any questions on that, we can switch to the Tai Fu Bitcoin aggregate index. Now the Tai Fu Bitcoin aggregate index here lets us know the real market cap of Bitcoin. Okay, so we call the Tai Fu, we nicknamed it the Ma Bell aggregate index because Ma Bell is the big telephone company called AT&T. They had a monopoly on the entire telecommunications industry in America I think it was in the 60s or something like that. And the Department of Justice sued them and won the case and forced them to break up their company into multiple small companies. Okay, so it used to be AT&T, and then they got broken up into a bunch of small companies. And we used to, in America, we nicknamed it the Ma Bell, which is AT&T. So that's how we got the nickname Ma Bell, because all these baby Bitcoins that are coming, right? And so the purple area represents Bitcoin Cash, and the blue area represents Bitcoin. And if we combine the total of that, the current market cap is around 69 billion. Okay, and it went as high as about 90 billion, I think it was, at the top, somewhere towards the end of August of the year. So right there, it was about 103 billion dollar market cap when it's combined together. And we believe that that's the real value of Bitcoin. Okay, that's the true value. And again, we do not include the Bitcoins that don't come from the same Genesis block. And if you have to work to get the Bitcoin, the baby Bitcoin, then it's not considered a real baby Bitcoin. Okay, so that's why we don't include like Bitcore and Bitcoin Gold and things like that.
Clear. Let me stop sharing my screen. Is it okay again? Yeah, I guess so. Huh? Good explanation. So we are running very much out of time, I see.
That's no problem. If it helps somebody, if it helps your audience make money, you know, hey, if this stuff helps your audience make some life-changing money, hey man, we can talk all day, man.
It's all about the Benjamins, baby.
Yeah, you know, every time we go to a cryptocurrency conference, you know, it always, you know, warms our heart when we have, you know, people coming up to us thanking us for making them millionaires. So it's
exactly
a good feeling, you know. The last conference we had like over a dozen people come and thank us, right, in New York. So we're always happy to share what we've learned, and you know, we always wish that there was somebody that made these mistakes before us and shared it with us. You know,
exactly.
I saw one question in by Pin's chess style. He asked, "What's the second bucket?" Because I mentioned the privacy coin was the first bucket. The second bucket for your audience is what we call the distributed computing bucket, or the distributed bucket. And in that bucket,
coin.
We have MainSafe, we have Sia coin, we have storage coin, and then we have IPFS, which is Filecoin.
Filecoin, yeah.
Yeah, so we believe that's going to be a huge industry, a huge bucket to focus on, simply because that's a real world problem that's existing now.
Yeah.
And we already have evidence from Amazon's AWS service, right? Where they have their cloud service, and Google has their cloud service, and Dropbox and places like that. We already know that that's a real world problem, and everyone's trying to tackle that. Right, so to us that's an easy no-brainer, because we can see that in the real world. Like I said, like the smart contracts and all that stuff, it's all great and everything, but that's not something that's being used in the real world right now, and it's not something that people are desperately trying to solve right now. Whereas the privacy bucket and the distributed storage bucket, that's a real world problem that people are trying to solve right now.
Yeah. Okay, and just to close up, shall we do a couple of questions? Just
you know, whatever questions your audience has, just put it in the box, and then we'll answer them.
Yeah, I see here a question of Koen Alberts. How do you finally decide to jump onto a particular crypto? Is this for you guys always a mutual decision, and what is more decisive? So fundamental, or TA, or 50-50, or 33/33/33%?
Okay, so we have a specific formula that we run a scoring process that takes more than just an hour to explain, you know, and it's something that we teach at our cryptocurrency investing bootcamp. We have a process where we look at, we filter all the cryptocurrencies into like a funnel, and we look at it and we score based on specific characteristics that we have found. There are certain traits of cryptocurrencies from the 4 years that we've been in it, right? We notice that there are certain traits that make it very profitable, that give it the highest potential of profitability, right? So we score it in a specific way, and then we try to be very mechanical about it and not get emotionally attached to it. And then when it fits our scoring method, then it goes to the next stage of review. So we just have a review process that where, hey, if it fits this criteria, it goes to the next stage. And if it fits this criteria, then it goes to the next stage, and so on down the line, right? So it's not kind of like an assembly line, right? So we inspect it for certain criteria, and once it gets to that, then at the end. Now, we do all this before when it's just like an ICO. Mm-hmm. After the ICO, then we look at it the same way, right? In the beginning, before an ICO, it's like 100% our filter criteria, okay? It has to meet our investing criteria, and then we look at it and we get into it. At that point, it hasn't been traded yet, so there's no technical analysis. So it's 100% fundamental analysis and 0% technical analysis. Now, when it starts trading, then we start to incorporate technical analysis and volume and a bunch of other things into it to where we can look at it now. So now if it's a cryptocurrency that's been out for a while, right? And let's just say that we missed the ICO, we missed the beginning, the first year of trading or whatever, and now we get into it, then we look at more of the technical side to see where people are buying and people are selling. Because we look at where people are putting their money at. You know, that's one of the things that I always ask people when they tell me, oh, this is a good crypto. The first question I ask them is not how they analyze it or what it was about it that they made. I want to get a gauge of, I want to get a, you know, like what do you call it? A gauge, you know, like to check a win to see
educated guess.
You know, yeah. So if you tell me, hey, you know, I like this cryptocurrency and I think you should invest into it, my first question is, how much money did you put into it? Did you put $10,000 into it, 100,000, $500,000 into it? Right? Yeah. Because then that gives me an idea if I should even continue listening to it. Yeah. Right? If you tell me you didn't put any money into it, not even $100, then that right there, I just zone out. Because that lets me know you're not serious about that. You're here making me a recommendation, or you're telling me to look at something you yourself didn't put any money into it. You know, so if you put money into it, then I hesitate to even look at it. Yeah. You know? So I hope that answers the question of how we do our technical and fundamental analysis.
Yeah, good. So I have a question here from Dan. What will happen to Chinese money? It's a difficult speculation question, of course.
Okay, so that's a common question that we've been getting recently about what China does. Now, if you're new to cryptocurrencies, this is the first time you might have heard China banning something, okay? But we've been in crypto for over 4 years now, so because of that, we hear this all the time. Almost every year, China bans something in crypto, and that's expected. And people freak out about it because they don't have a trading or investing game plan. So if you have a game plan of what's gonna happen, then you don't have to play the what if game. What if China bans this? What if Russia bans that? Whatever, right? Then trading and investing is about you. See, people think that the amateurs and the beginners, they think that investing and trading is about what the market does. It has nothing to do with what the market does, because you cannot control that and you cannot predict that. All you can do, the only control you have is yourself and your money, right? Is when you get in and when you get out. That's the only control that you have, and what size of the bet that you put on that trade. So instead of focusing on what the market's doing, focus on what you do. So the question is, hey, what do I do when the market, what's going to happen when China bans Bitcoin? That's not the question you want to ask yourself. The question you want to ask yourself is, how do I respond when the market goes up or when the market goes down? And it really doesn't matter what caused it to go down. It could be because, you know what? People didn't think you were funny on your channel, and the price of Bitcoin went down. Maybe people thought you're so hilarious on your channel that bought Bitcoin and it went to the moon, it really doesn't matter what the reason why is. People are always looking, amateurs and beginners will look for the reason why, whereas professionals, right, look for ways to respond to it. What is the appropriate response when something falls 50%? What is the appropriate response when you get into something like a NEO or an Ant shares that runs up 20,000% in your favor?
You FOMO in, not?
Huh?
You FOMO in, not?
You FOMO in? Please answer no. Usually, we whenever we coach our clients, we coach them, to buy when they see red candles and sell when they see green candles. So we don't buy on green candles.
I always panic sell when it goes down.
Huh? You always sell it when it goes down?
No, I'm just kidding, of course. All right, okay. Let's take one last question. This one is for you, Leon. Where is it again? I saw something. Oh, a lot of people are asking questions right now. What's your thought on ARC's ideas, Leon?
ARC?
Yes.
Oh, I'm going to have to take a pass on that. I do not know anything about ARC.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to answer that because I've actually had more dealings with ARC than Leon did. Okay. So a colleague of mine reached out to me and asked me to talk to research ARC, and I actually talked to some of the ARC community members, right? But I was not very clear in my conversation with them of what ARC was about. Okay, so I'm not clear on what it was about, but we did not bring them onto our channel because if we're not clear about what the project is about offline, then we're not going to bring them online to confuse our subscribers and our audience.
Yeah. Okay. So, fair enough.
So we invited them to get some clarity because I wasn't sure what it was about, So whenever something's not clear, we try to stay away from it, So you want to lose money on something that you understand. You don't want to lose money on something like it's like, what the hell? Like, why did I invest in it? I don't even understand what the hell it is.
Yeah, true. They are doing something with smart bridges. But what is it?
Yeah, So, any more questions?
One more. Let's see. Does your team structure yourself as a hedge fund group, and how many people are on your team? Yeah, the second question was
we have several people on our team, and we are not a hedge fund. We try to operate like a hedge fund. We try to use the same risk management as a hedge fund, a traditional hedge fund would, right? And we also take risks like a traditional hedge fund would, but we are not a licensed hedge fund, right? At this point, we looked into, the guidelines and the security laws are not very clear in the U.S. for setting up a crypto hedge fund. Mm-hmm. Because of that, we are not setting up a hedge fund, and we are not a hedge fund, and we are not licensed financial advisors or any of that. Okay, so we are, we have hired some lawyers to help us figure out how we can be licensed, to set up a trade desk so that we can trade off the exchange. And once we get that figured out, then we'll announce it to the public, because we know that there are a lot of people that are trying to get orders filled off the exchange, if somebody, so we want to cater to that market of other portfolios and where, like if we want to unload, 100 Bitcoins, we don't want to go to the market and disrupt prices or 100, ethers, or maybe not in Bitcoin and ethers because those are very liquid markets, but there are certain markets that we don't want to go in and disrupt, and we would rather make the trades off the exchange. Mm-hmm. So, and our other traders, there's dozens and hundreds of traders out there that want to do the same thing, and we want to target those group of traders. And right now we're in the process. We had hired several attorneys, securities lawyers that know securities law, and they're helping us figure that out. So hopefully we'll be able to get that out sometime in 2018 if possible.
Cool. Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, so some final thoughts, Leon. Where do you see the blockchain and cryptocurrency market evolve to in the next 2 to 5 years? And some other things that you would like to close up with, what has not been discussed in this extensive interview?
Well, I think we covered most of my thoughts here in this interview. Long term, we believe, like I said, I think the long term that cryptocurrencies will become a major asset class. And we do believe everyone should have a portion of their assets in cryptocurrencies. Not all of it, obviously. I think diversification is important. But I do believe that everybody should go out and get some Bitcoins or get some Ethereums and then start from there. And just use a small amount of money so that you learn and you understand as to what this is all about. And I think it will be very rewarding over the next few years. We both believe that, and that's why we run our channel. Yes.
Good. And you, Tai?
I want to add to that also, Levi, for your audience, like the Tai Fu 30 cryptocurrency market index started out at 100 points. And Leon talks about, we anticipate that it'll surpass $1 trillion market cap. That means it's going to go from 100 points to 1,000 points.
Yeah.
On the Tai Fu 30 cryptocurrency market index. So if the Tai Fu index goes to 1,000 points, that means that it's about a 10x move from here, a 10 multiple. 10 times, what the market size is right now.
Yeah.
So,
but it can be pretty reasonable. I mean, if you just have a 0.1% coming from the stock market, which is like, what is it, 30, 40 trillion? Or you have, let's say, a 0.1% coming from the gold market.
Yeah.
It can easily be.
Yeah, and you want to talk about how hey, Leon, you want to talk about how, no one ever feels like they got into Bitcoin at the right price?
Yeah, so
it's just such a big market cap that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I got many of my friends who say, oh, it's too late for me to buy Bitcoin because Bitcoin's at $4,000, right, as of right now. And I told them, we did an interview with another fellow YouTuber. I told her, you know what, 4,000. I felt the same way buying Bitcoin at $40. As somebody getting in today, by paying 4,000, because Bitcoin at the time when I got in late 2012, early 2013, was up from it was at under $1 just a few years ago, right? I mean it was at 6 cents when it began trading. So, no one in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies felt that they were early. Everybody who's got in, no matter when they got in, unless you were the 100th person on the Satoshi's, unless you were one of those people on the mailing list when Satoshi announced Bitcoin, right? But there was only maybe perhaps 100 people on that mailing list at most in 2008 when he published the white paper. No one in cryptocurrencies felt like they were getting in early. Like there has never been a person who felt that, oh, I'm getting in ahead of everyone else. That just doesn't exist here because the market's growing so rapidly. And so even at 4,000, we anticipate, like, just because 4,000 only represents maybe 40, 50, 60 billion dollars in market value, that's still nothing for a currency as an asset class. That's still like barely I'm starting to get some attention, but on asset classes are measured in trillions.
Exactly.
Multiple trillions.
Yeah.
How big is the stock market? How much currency is in the world, right? What is the US dollar, the euro, the Japanese yen, the British pound, the Australian dollar, the Canadian dollar? What is all that worth? Well, that's about 100 trillion. 100 trillion is the size of the currency market. The stock market, it's in the tens of trillions. Gold is about 5 to 8 trillion. You take the amount of gold that's known in the world, multiplied by the 1,500 an ounce, that number's around 7, 8 trillion, somewhere around there. We just crossed 100 billion and a trillion is still about 10x from here, and that's the first trillion. So it's still early on a macro level. Although but on the other hand, that doesn't mean that we can't go into a bear market and drop 50, 60, 70, 80%. That's also, which is why I say don't put more than you can afford to lose. I said it back 4 years ago when we started, and if I would say the same thing to someone who's getting in it today, that not to put an amount of money that, like, don't put the money you need to pay the rent, for example. Don't put your emergency funds, or if you do that, make sure you have a good job that at least there's more money going to come in, right?
Exactly.
You have to protect yourself financially. It is important to take risks, but it's also important to protect yourself. And I always emphasize that when people ask me for my opinions.
Amen to that.
And by the way, I just want to wrap up by saying that, hey, I put my life savings into Bitcoin back in 2014, but I would not do that today on Bitcoin. You know what I'm saying?
Why not today then?
Maybe because when I first got into Bitcoin in 2014, when they sent me some test transactions to show me how it works, it cleared instantly and there was 0 transaction cost. Right? It was instant. I mean, it's like, I was shocked, because I come from the traditional stock trading world, and it takes like 2 weeks to confirm and settle everything. They say that it settles in T+3, which means trade plus 3 days, but that's not the reality. If you make a profit trading Apple stocks, right, it takes 3 days for them to settle it and then send you the money to your, and clear it and send it to your bank account, and it takes another few days. It takes on average about 2 weeks to get money out of a brokerage firm after you make a trade and make money on it, if you can spend it, right? So when Leon sent me the first few test transactions and I saw that, and he told me that it's already cleared, I was like, holy crap. Like, you can't tell me that this is not a revolutionary technology when it takes 2-3 weeks for something to clear on Wall Street, and this just cleared instantly. I'm putting my life savings into this. But today, today you send a transaction in Bitcoin, and you don't even know when it's going to confirm. You have no idea when it's going to confirm. And, nothing is more nerve-wracking than trying to send 100 Bitcoins to somebody, and you don't know when it's going to confirm.
Yeah.
You know that it will, you just don't know when. And that's very, very, I would not put my life savings onto a network that's not unreliable. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to share that with your audience so that they don't run out there and put their life savings in because Tai Zen put his life savings in, and now, he's retired and he doesn't have to work anymore. I'm going to do the same thing. I don't want to think that, okay?
Yeah, yeah. Good. Well said. Well said. Okay, guys. That's it for today. Yeah? I really want to thank you, and it was a big honor to have you both on the show. I really felt honored that you contacted me, Tai Zen, about doing this kind of interview, because if you ask me, I'm just a clown doing my thing. But
here's the thing, like every year we always try to bring up new incoming YouTubers, and introduce them to our audience and our channel. So it's always, there's so many that came out this year that it did not make sense to make a video talking about 100 different YouTube channels. So we just went through and we saw the ones that were interesting. The key deciding factor was we're not bullshitters, right? It's like, hey, and then the other thing was that we wanted to help out the channels and kind of give back to the community, to the channels that had less than 5,000 subscribers, because last year we made a video about the 7 influential YouTubers, including like, Omar Bam from the Crypto News channel back when he first started, Bitcoin Meister, Cryptoverse, several of these channels that they just started. They only had like 1,000, 2,000 subscribers. And we know how it feels like, when you're in YouTube, you got a lot of these arrogant channels that they think that they're too good for everyone now, when they get, and so we never wanted to be that way. And we wanted, because we believe that, if we were able to influence and help, several dozen people become millionaires and retire from their 9-to-5 jobs and stuff, who knows, maybe your channel will help a dozen people do that, and it's nice. It's nice to be able to go to a conference and have people come up and thank you in person for changing their lives, it tickles us. I don't know if it tickles other people, but it tickles us.
Yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely. No, but that's good that you mentioned that, and exactly what I said earlier in the show. I read the book Napoleon Hill, and the quote that always kept in my mind was, "You can succeed best by helping others to succeed," and that's exactly what you are doing. And I really appreciate it, guys.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having us on the channel. Let us know if you want to, when you want to have us back on. You know.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
seeing you in a future episode.
We'll do that. So that's it for today. Thanks again for watching. Peace out.